I have finished Dishonored 2 and I'm ready to tell you whether or not I recommend that you go out and buy this game. Well, spoiler alert, if you like stealth action type games, if you liked Dishonored 1, if you like games like Prey, my recommendation is yes, you should probably buy and play this game. It's great. There you go, I've saved you the trouble. You don't have to listen to the rest of this video, which is probably for the best because I'm going to ramble on and on and on. You're welcome. Now, if you're watching my Let's Play and you're wondering why I'm releasing the review before I finish the Let's Play instead of just having a final thoughts video, I may have a final thoughts video as well. But this video is going to be a spoiler-free recommendation, and it's more aimed at the people who've started to watch the Let's Play and are thinking about buying the game but are not sure if it continues with its high quality. And I just want to reassure those people, yes it does. If you're thinking about buying this game, you should stop watching my Let's Play right now. Go buy the game and play it before you continue. Experience it for yourself. It's well worth it. My playthrough was about 50 hours and I know I go pretty slow, I read all the notes and I chat to myself, but from what I can see the average playtime is 42 hours for a single playthrough if you collect everything, and that's a single playthrough. I played as Emily. There's at least 2 playthroughs in this game and potentially more if you want to do a no powers playthrough. This game has got longevity. But more importantly, even for a single playthrough, it's well worth it. 42 hours, that is a good playtime, and I can tell you, I never got bored, I never got tired of it, the pacing was great, and I enjoyed pretty much every second of it. This game is a stealth action game, which pretty much means you can either stealth the game, you can treat it as an action game and kill everything you meet, or you can mix the two. In fact, I would probably say that latter is the best way to play. Stealth when you want, fight when you need, and just sort of go with the flow. It reminds me of Prey in many ways, which is by Arcane Studios as well, so that shouldn't be too big a surprise. There are a variety of ways of doing everything, and honestly you probably end up trying most of the different ways because at some point the stealth will fail and you'll have to fight, or if you enjoy the fighting there will just be moments when you think, ooh, this next fight could be tough, maybe I should stealth a little and take a few of the enemies out before I engage the rest. It's that sort of game. You can play as either Corvo or Emily. Now Corvo has the same power set he had in the first game, but Emily has a whole new set of powers which are very cool, very interesting. The only power she shares with Corvo is dark vision, and that's a power I did not use this time. In the first game I felt it made it a little too easy, so I avoided it this time. I'm being told it's a little better balanced, but I'm still not totally sure about that, so I skipped that power this time, and I can tell you I really had a blast. I also turned off the stealth indicators as well, so that made life a little tougher, but that isn't a problem. I actually kind of like that. However, in most ways this game is just a natural sequel to the first, and by that I mean it really does feel like an extension. A very similar sort of story, a very similar kind of playstyle or mix of playstyles, and of course it looks and sounds very similar. I mean, it looks great. I love the way this game looks. I actually love the way it sounds as well. I love the setting, the world, the lore, everything about it. In general, what I would say is if you enjoyed Dishonored 1, you are almost certainly going to enjoy Dishonored 2. It's a very natural sequel to that game. It's more of the same, but with some improvements. Some of the issues I had with the first game have definitely been dealt with. For example, I remember feeling that Dishonored 1 was a little too short. I mean, it was still good value, it was still a good game, but I definitely felt like I hadn't quite played enough for my first playthrough, whereas in Dishonored 2 it felt pretty much perfect. I could probably have played 1 or 2 more missions, you know, but that's the sign of a good game. Leave them wanting more. And I did, but I definitely felt like I'd had a good run. Another improvement is in the AI detection. In the first game, I remember how easy it was to avoid detection. You could peek around the corner of a building and never get seen. You know, a guard could be walking right towards you, 5 foot away from you, but they couldn't see you, even though your head was poking out from behind a wall, and it did make it a little trivial. I mean, if they couldn't see your chest, they couldn't see you. In Dishonored 2, they've fixed that. You stick your head out from behind a wall and there's a guard looking at that place, that guard is going to see you. You've really got to be a lot more careful. In fact, it might even be a little too difficult for some people at times. You're going to need to be very patient, or you're going to have to use dark vision or one of the other powers, because just poking your head around random corners is a recipe for disaster. You are going to get seen, but I really like that. One minor criticism I have though of the AI is they didn't seem to activate the alarms enough. I remember in the first game, if I got discovered and had to run, the guards would always set the alarms off, and I would have to avoid very alert guards for some time, and I seem to remember having to switch the alarms off before things would calm down. That might be my memory going bad, but I feel like I did that in the first game. I never had to do that in the second game, so I sort of feel like that was a bit of a weakness. I think I would like to have seen the guards activate the alarm when they saw me, and then stay alert until somebody switched the alarms off. And I'm saying somebody with air quotes, because obviously I mean me, and then the guards would think, oh, they must have caught her and we can relax now. I think I would like to have seen something like that. I seem to remember that being an issue in the first game far more. My apologies if my memory is just playing tricks on me though. However, apart from that minor little thing, generally speaking, Dishonored 2 is either as good as or an improvement over the first game. However, there is one thing I think really does need to be emphasized, and that is the level design in Dishonored 2, which was superb. At first glance, some of these areas look kind of small. When you look at them on a map, you think, wow, that's not going to take long to travel through at all. And yet, it's just so well done. It's so organic, so natural feeling, and a lot more complicated than you think, especially if you're trying to avoid detection. There are so many different ways to move around the areas that you find yourself exploring every nook and cranny, and this is further incentivized by the fact that there are runes and bone charms all over the place, and you want them all. So you end up spending quite a lot of time in an area that might initially look small, but ends up feeling quite large and very well developed. I had a lot of fun navigating around pretty much all of the world spaces. And these areas are filled with little notes and diaries for you to go off and read. You feel very much like you did in Prey. You're pretty much being a nosy Parker. You're going through everyone's mail, everyone's diaries, but you are getting a picture of what is going on in that area, and it really does make you feel connected, and that's a great thing. But the real reason the level design is such a big issue when talking about Dishonored 2 is that there are two places that stand out as absolutely superb. Anyone who's played the game probably knows the exact two places I'm talking about. I'm going to be spoiler free in this particular video, but I can tell you that both of them were in mansions and they were phenomenal. The first one you discover was just so interesting. It was such a cool idea, both visually and mentally, as you were trying to navigate around this place. Again, I do not want to spoil anything, so I'm not going to talk about it too much in this video. But it was phenomenal. It was fabulously well done. It was really interesting, and honestly, after playing that particular area, I thought to myself, they cannot outdo this, and yet they did. There was another area later on, and this particular place, it wasn't the architecture or the layout that was too interesting. It was the fact that the gameplay changes dramatically. Now ordinarily I'm against gameplay mechanical changes mid-game. It's usually done extremely badly. It'll be some boss fight where they say all of the things you've done so far, all of the skills you've got, they don't work on this boss. You've got to figure out which buttons to press and which parts of him to shoot and which way to do X, Y and Z, and the only way to do it is just trial and error. You're going to fight, you're going to die, you're going to reload, and you do that until you finally figure it out. I really don't like that. This is one of the reasons I've never been a great fan of boss fights. However, in this case, it's not like that. The transition from one way of playing to the other is almost seamless. I mean, you notice it, it's there, but there's a really good reason for it. But it's also a case that the new way of playing is so instinctive and makes so much sense almost immediately that you adapt to it pretty damned quickly, and it is so much fun. It was fascinating to play that way. And I don't want to talk about it too much in this video because this video is going to be spoiler free, but I'm going to make another video where I discuss that one place because it was just so much fun. What I can tell you that is spoiler free is that particular mission stands out in my mind as one that's just so well done. The level design was great, but also the way they changed the mechanics to make something a little different was, well, it was brilliant. It really was. The only downside to these two great levels, these two great missions, is the fact that in some ways they kind of overshadowed the finale. Because the finale itself, it was a great mission, it was a great level design, it just wasn't quite as good as these other two, and I can't help but feel it would have been nice to have the last mission be one of these really interesting ones. And in actual fact, at the very, very end of that last mission, there was an opportunity for them to do something a little different. There is I don't want to spoil it again, but there is something a little different, and they could have expanded upon that and perhaps made some new interesting place just to make the finale feel a little more special. But I am nitpicking because that final mission was still good. It was still a great mission, as all of the missions were. It's just those other two were so damned good. But seriously, do not let that very, very minor point dissuade you from buying this game. This game is an excellent game. It was a lot of fun to play. I had almost no issues whatsoever. I do remember one audio glitch where I remember there were some people singing, and if I took one step back I suddenly couldn't hear them, and then one step forward I could hear them. And I don't mean it was fading out, I mean literal silence one step back and then suddenly full volume singing the next. So that was the one thing I remember where I would say there was a glitch or a problem. Beyond that, the entire experience was really just, it was a great experience. Arkane Studios are rapidly becoming one of my favourite development teams out there. I have to say, of the games I've played recently, Dishonored 2 and Prey stand out as, well, superb games, especially Prey. I'm really surprised how little attention Arkane Studios are getting. I know they got attention for Dishonored 2, but I actually think they should have got more. And Prey, well, it seems to have gone under the radar, and I find that to be, well, it's almost criminal. They are currently making the sort of games I really enjoy. They've got two IPs now, Dishonored and Prey, and I'm looking forward to any future installments. I really hope there's going to be a Prey 2. I'm going to take my hat off yet again and give them yet more applause. Loved Dishonored 2, loved Prey, and yes, I can highly recommend both games.